It's Ancient Aliens, and this time, it's not about ancient Egypt or those pesky Mexican pyramids. Oh no, we're off to the Wild Wild West, because obviously there's more to that story than a bunch of horsey boys and Indian fellas. Shall we begin, and here's that film, Cowboys vs Aliens, because, well, that's actually quite relevant to this episode, even if that film sucked. But interestingly, that concept, aliens and cowboys, kind of strikes a bit of a nerve, don't you think? Because maybe, and hear me out on this one, it wasn't fiction. So let's head to Aurora, Texas, which is an outback kind of town, and there's loads of headstones of like dead inhabitants. But there's allegedly a grave here that's not marked at all. And here comes knockoff Terry Pratchett, and he tells us all about that mysterious dead guy. Well, the cemetery is founded in 1861, and there's a signpost to confirm it. And when the people in the town died, they all got buried here. So it kind of seems like a normal grave. Wait a minute! It's not a normal graveyard, because it also says that there was a spaceship that crashed around that time, and a little alien fella died and was buried in this very graveyard by the locals. All because they hit a windmill. But hang on! Surely an interstellar spacecraft that has to traverse the perilous cosmos would be able to handle a stupid windmill made out of basically paper. Of course it can! Well, that would ruin the show. Well, that spaceship caused a big explosion, and it was so shocking that even the local newspaper were like, "Oh my balls, something happened, guys, it's so scary." And there were remains here too, which were all charred up in the fire and stuff. So they buried the alien in that very graveyard from earlier, and Terry Pratchett says it must have been aliens, and not like literally a fake story by a newspaper to generate interest in visiting the town, because the Wright brothers hadn't even invented that plane thingy yet, so obviously it confirms it. It must have been the aliens! But there's a bit of an issue though, because all that debris and dead alien were quickly removed and never seen again. So basically there's zero evidence of any of this. And that incident was actually all forgotten about until an old geezer brought a farm and caught a bad case of hand aids from a well, and he believed it was tainted with evil alien jizz, because the story goes that they dumped the wreckage in that very well. So let's ask the question, was the well to blame for his hand aids? Or is it something else like arthritis? Are you stupid? There's no such thing as arthritis until the aliens came. Therefore, interstellar aliens who crashed into windmills and died a death are now confirmed. But shut up right now, everyone. We've just got word that knockoff Terry Pratchett actually found the grave. It was right there, but now it's not. And even ground penetrating radar confirms that indeed this place was a graveyard. So that's fantastic. Where's the alien though? It was stolen, obviously, along with all the other evidence. What about that wreckage? You know, the crashed alien ship in that well? They did the science on it and discovered something truly shocking. The results were inconclusive, and there was a high concentration of aluminium, which is tightly mind-blowing. Why would there be aluminium there? Who knows, but it was definitely from aliens. What about George Washington? What has that traitor to the greatest empire that has ever lived got to say about the freaking aliens? Well, he gave a high to Revolutionary War veterans, but when those war guys turned up, they found a bunch of Indian burial mounds, and one of them was really strange because it looked like a snake. So they called it Serpent Mound, but it can only be seen from the sky, and Sweaty Playground Man confirms it. It's a real mysterious, because those old Indian fellas didn't have a plane, or a helicopter, or even a small gliding device, which means it was definitely so the aliens could see it. But it doesn't end there though, because that Serpent Mound was constructed on the edge of a 300 million year old meteor crater, which is also mind-blowing. Why would they build it there? Because they were magnetic anomalies, obviously, that for some reason they don't demonstrate on the camera. An alien meme man says if you take a compass near that spot, the needle will do very strange things, and those Indians could feel the energy radiating from it. Which is incredible, because I thought it would have just been a coincidence, just like that Mexican pyramid that is marginally close to the crater that killed the dinosaurs. That obviously was because of alien dinosaurs, and no joke, that was in the Dinosaurs and Aliens episode. Anyway, That meteor also deposited some really rare elements on Earth like iridium, which is used in spacecrafts. Is that anyway relevant to the Indians though? No, because Jobless Man says it may be because the aliens wanted to mine it. And look, there's caves under that mound. So let's ask the question, did aliens come to Earth to mine the iridium? Of course they did, stupid! Because they really needed it. And for some reason couldn't go mine all the asteroids in space. I mean, it's not like we don't have over 1 million of them literally just floating around. According to Pocahontas, it's not just those Indians who believe the Serpent Mound has alien origins, because other tribes also believe it was aliens, and they would come to Earth to teach them all about their ancestors and where they all came from. So that Serpent Mound, it was pointed towards the constellation of Draconis, and many bends all point to the solstice and the moon or something. Well, normies would think that would be because our ancestors have been fascinated by the stars for millennia. Wait, nope, sorry. It was because the aliens needed to use it as a waypoint in their spaceships. But well, let's take a step back. So this really advanced alien race needed to put, like, Serpent Mounds as a waypoint, whereas us, who have barely even got past the midway point of advanced civilizations, can somehow not define what a woman is and believe that communism will totally work the next time, but are still capable of sending satellites into space, creating a GPS system so we can get to places like McDonald's. Totally makes sense. Anyway, Right Fred says that every time I think of those really cool things those guys did like Stonehenge and the pyramids, I can't help but think that we lost some kind of advanced technology, which is actually quite true. How did they build that big thing over there? It's utterly huge. Let's get back to the aliens. Well, in New York in 1823, there was a log cabin and a 17-year-old boy called Joseph Smith, and he saw something one night that was totally not of this world. And oh my balls, it was an alien angel. And that guy Joseph Smith was told, go find a golden book we buried for some kind of reason, and then translate the text, but never let anyone else see them, you utter dingus. It's like, ah, crap, that's how you get terrestrial Mormons. And according to Joseph Smith, we're actually all aliens and are not of this world. And now crap David Grohl says, we found stuff in other burial mounds, like plates of writing, in both North America and South America. So that straight up confirms it. The Mormons are aliens. And when they travelled to Utah all those years ago, they found drawings on the wall. And now Alien Meme Man is telling us that those drawings, they were depicting kind of like ordinary stuff, you know, like shooting things with arrows, but there were also really weird things like Crabhead Man and spaceships. So let's go to Montana 6 months after Abraham Lincoln got deleted, where a trapper saw a light in the sky one night that totally crashed. And conveniently, he was a tracker, and slightly bulbous headman tells us that he went and tracked down that crashed object. And it was a rock, which was hollow, with hieroglyphs and suspicious liquid dropping out of it. And that sparked an investigation. But there was something strange, because that location where it landed was also where the Blackfoot Indians were, who also believe that aliens used to visit Earth to teach them things like, you know, how to play ping pong and roll up a big, fat, juicy zoobie. And then Elizabeth Warren pipes up, telling us all about those aliens. They're actually still here, guys. They teach me things, like telepathically. You know, just last week they showed me how to boil a kettle and then file my taxes. Oh, and they showed me a bar that had really strange writing on it, but sadly I don't have it on hand. So here's a replica. Did those cowboys and Indians interact with aliens? Well, let's go to Tombstone, Arizona, where in 1881 there were loads of miners there. And then 10 years later, there was a UFO sighting. Wait, hold on, hang on. This is a side note here. If it's 10 years later, why not just start with 1891? Why was 1881 mentioned if you go, oh, in 1881, but 10 years later, oh, no. You know what, I don't care. Because Slightly Bulbous Headman says, in Tombstone book, it was reported that a couple of guys saw a birdman that totally looked a bit like a crocodile. And it was very strange because crocodiles don't fly. So they started shooting at it, but sadly it didn't die. What's Alien Meme Man got to say about it? He says there's loads of stories like weird creatures in caves and ghost trains, so obviously it means that they're telling the truth, and we should take it literally that there was a flying crocodile thing. Anyway, strangely around that time there was also a new kind of media emerging. It was called science fiction, and one of the first authors was called Ambrose Bierce, who really believed that there could be alien life on other planets. So pretty much like everyone else then. And he wrote a story about a guy walking across a field once, and then he disappeared out of nowhere. And years later his wife could hear him talking to her. So obviously what he was trying to tell us was that he travelled into an interdimensional realm, and we should take that literally. Don't get it, who cares? It is thought by many scholars that these early sci-fi authors were actually influenced by the Indian fellas, and those Indian fellas believed in aliens. So does that not prove it to you yet, guys? If you still have doubts, here's Vacuum Salesman who says, wormholes, black holes. It all makes sense, can't you see it? The science checks out. But hang on, what happened to that Ambrose author guy? Sweaty Playground Man says that he travelled to Mexico once, which is renowned for aliens, and straight up disappeared because they found a crystal skull, you know, like that one from Indiana Jones, which totally talked to them telepathically, and then opened up a wormhole that he went through and disappeared. Or he straight up just died in the desert somewhere. But there's also a lake in California, which is a real mysterious, because it's believed that it's a gateway to another world, and it's called the Elizabeth Lake, which sadly reminds me of the late Queen. Oh, I miss her every day. Come back, my British grandma, you're so much cooler than this utter melt. Anyway, that lake sits on the San Andreas fault line, and the Mexicans in the 1700s called it the Lake of Devils, and it was said that the devil would enter the world via that very lake. Which is amazing, because why would the devil choose a lake in the middle of bloody nowhere? Who knows? But slightly bulbous headman says that a bunch of ranchers lived there once and their cattle kept dying of mysterious AIDS. And then even really weird was that they kept seeing flying things in the sky, like a flying crocodile bird. Which totally connects the dots from earlier because they also shot their boomsticks at it and the bird didn't die. And Elizabeth Warren says it was totally the devil, who's also an interdimensional entity that is also very evil. But if the portal to another dimension is literally in California, which kind of makes sense, is it possible the crocodile birdman is actually a spaceship? Well, Right Said Fred says yes, because obviously it was aliens. And look, there's a bird drawing. So Pocahontas says, my ancestors totally told me that that bird thing was made out of metal because it was a spaceship. Well, that straight up confirms it. Cowboys vs. Aliens was totally a documentary and not just, you know, a crap film that everyone forgot about as soon as it was released. But before initiating ending sequence, let's have a personal moment. What do you get when you lock an entire planet down and collapse global economies? Fired, of course, because no one can afford to buy anything anymore, therefore businesses start to crumble. Oh, and also Rishi Sunak, the idiot, increasing bloody corporation tax. What has that got to do with crap writing? A lot actually, because I got fired. So I was opening a Patreon for anyone who wants to help out a mildly mentally challenged YouTuber and his no-nonsense bigotry. No pressure, you know, if I don't get anything I'll just go mug a couple of grannies or something.
Subscribe button.
Is always right.